strategies, persistence, dedication, and input from others. Where focus goes, energy flows. So focus your energy on continuous learning and stop wasting time thinking about looking smart. Build resistance, build vulnerability, build courageousness, and face adversity with a smile. Become comfortable with uncomfortable. You know, the only person that you need to prove anything to is you. Imperfect action trumps perfect inaction. Stop wasting time and get on with it. Failure is part of learning, so start learning by taking action.
Kristian Livolsi, it is Wednesday. We are back with the hot seat. Now, we did attempt to come live earlier and the internet was just a shit show. Absolutely. Thank you, Optus, for all the havoc you are reaping today. How's your day been, Kristian?
My day has been really long so far, so I'm pretty excited that I'm going to get home and see my children at some point. I did pick up Leo, and I've seen Lavender already, but I want some hugs.
Yes, absolutely. We were just discussing off air how long a Wednesday can be when you start your coaching calls. 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. We've had lots of client things today. We've delivered training. We've done Q&As. And here we are back on the hot seat. And it just goes to show all of our audience as well that there's no smoke and mirrors with us. We are here for real life. Didn't turn out at 5 p.m. So we're like, you know what? You can jump on your next client call. I'll go and feed the kids dinner and we'll come back. So here we are.
Right, here we are. So let's rock and roll.
Let's rock and roll so you can get home and see your family. All right.
No, actually, I'm really hungry. I need to eat too.
Yes, well, I just made like nachos and Mexican food for my family. But
yeah, thanks. Great. Now, you don't tell me these things. I'm so hungry.
All right. I wanted to talk all about cash. Let's talk about cash flow. Let's talk about money. Interest rates went up again yesterday. And, you know, we love it when they sneak these things in on a Melbourne Cup day thinking we're not going to notice. But we all know what's going on. Cash is getting tighter. So I thought it would be really cool to talk about some cash stuff today and specific for business, not just us as individuals. But my first question for you today, Kristian, is what do you see amongst business owners to be the biggest cash flow challenge right now? What's happening out there? What are you hearing from our clients and in your circles?
Look, I can't say that there is one dominant challenge because every business, Simone, is different. However, some of the most significant cash flow challenges that business owners have faced or are facing, a lot of it comes from the economic uncertainty that stems from all the various global issues. Now, there is an aftermath of COVID-19, right? You know, all that fancy free money that was in the economy. You know, it's been spent, right? But what's also happened is people have gotten used to spending a lot, so their credit card debt has skyrocketed. And we've got the highest level of debt pretty much almost anywhere in the world, I think, at the moment. Our housing market's gone through the roof, and it's a bubble that doesn't look like it's actually going to ever burst. So people are just getting debt. There's the war in Ukraine that, you know, we don't hear about, but it's going. There's the, you know, the massive issues that are happening in the Gaza Strip. So then what you have is you get supply chain disruptions. You've got, you know, the inflammatory pressures that then the RBA decides to make the banks richer. You know, perhaps the banks don't need to pass on, you know, the rise if they really cared about Australian people, but they don't, right? $26 billion Westpac. I mean, come on, right? These banks were making $2 billion. You know, where are the regulators when you need them, right? But then there's also this shift in consumer behavior. So, you know, people are just spending. So we as business owners need to be mindful, A, to capture as much of that spend. But some of the more specific cash flow challenges that that are prevalent is things like delayed payments. So many businesses are facing delayed payments from their customers. People are holding on to their money, and that affects your cash flow. Then there's the supply chain volatility, right? You know, disruptions in the supply chain. We spoke to someone new, Rod, and their product basically is stalled because they can't get supply.
Yeah.
You got the rising costs. So inflation is increasing the cost of goods. So our COGS go up, the operating expenses go up. That means there's squeezing of margins, which means there's a reducing net cash flow, right? There's access to capital challenges that people are dealing with, adopting to all the consumer trends, the revenue predictability. I say this, and yet we are busy. We are so ridiculously busy. I'm not saying we as the advisory firm, but we as Business Growth Mindset, we as Media Sociale, we as Growth Outsourced, our own companies are still growing and thriving, but that's because we've got a repeatable model that we've mastered. And in fairness, we also have the greatest strategy and the greatest strategist of all time working in our business. Right, I love it. I can imagine people that are sitting there going, "What a dickhead!" And it's like, "Yep, that's great. You're not my person." Now, there's also the fixed cost issues, right? So, because of the fluctuations in revenue, then you've got all your fixed costs like rent, utilities, salaries. So that's creating a cash crunch. But business owners have to be particularly agile and focused on cash management. Now, looking for ways to optimize, all their operations, reducing their costs, and finding new revenue streams that can help them navigate the challenges as they come up. I know there was a long, convoluted response, but specific.
That's a lot to digest. Yeah, but I think really my biggest takeaway from all of that is you need to understand your cash flow. You need to understand what's going on. And we talk to a lot of people that rely on looking at their bank account and just looking at their P&L and their balance sheets and just what Xero is telling them or whatever product they're using instead of really being specific on their cash flow. So all right, let me move into my second question.
Sorry, hang on, but let me just statistically, more than 60% of companies that go broke, that close their doors, didn't close because they weren't making a profit. In fact, they were making a profit. It's they ran out of money. So you can't look at your P&L. P&L is bullshit, right? You got to watch your cash flow. You got to watch your cash at bank. I get nervous when there isn't a certain amount of money in the bank accounts, right? Yeah. And I'm sure that your next question is probably going to get me to give away more tips.
It is a little bit. All right. So my second question is controlling your operational expenses. Now I've always surprised at how you manage expenses and how lean we run things, which sometimes can give me a little eye roll moment, but I see so much merit in it. So I think this is a really important question to ask. When it comes to controlling the operational expenses, what are the specific costs that are most difficult to manage? So what are you really looking for when you're looking at managing your expenses?
Okay. So let me just paraphrase the question again. So controlling operational expenses is actually a critical part of managing any business, and certain costs can be particularly challenging to manage. A lot of the reason why is because of their complexity, their variability, or even the degree of which they are fixed. Okay, really important. So some of those labor costs, right, salaries and wages, they tend to be one of the largest expenses for any business. Okay, and so you got to manage these costs while retaining your talent and maintaining morale and productivity. That can be difficult, right? And we see a lot of that at the moment. Rent. If you're a brick and mortar business, well, the cost of leasing is significant fixed expense, but it's also impossible to adjust in the short term. Yeah. Right? So this is where I say to people at the moment, if you're getting leases, negotiate shorter leases, no matter how long your business has been in play. Because, imagine we get another pandemic, right? Yeah. I don't think any government is going to start forking out money again for free. I think they've learned their lesson, and we've got trillions of debt now, right? Utility and energy costs.
Commercial leases can be like 10 years, right? Yep. So commercial leases can be really long.
Yep. So, at the moment, I'm only advising people to do, 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 + 2, right? Especially established businesses that have been where they've been for ages. Some of our clients are getting older, so we're looking at succession planning. So, you don't want to be tied down to a long-term lease if you don't need to be. Utility and energy costs, Simone, are so volatile, right? And they're skyrocketing, right? I mean, I got really pissed the other day. We've got 12 kilowatts of solar on the roof. And, my energy bill at home for 300 kilowatt hours was, $225 for the month. We fed back 700 kilowatts and they gave me $30. So they're tripling. They're selling the energy I'm producing. You tell me if this is not the biggest rort in history. And anyone who says that I don't know what I'm talking about, I've owned energy companies and I still own an energy management business. So I know this, right? And it is just the biggest horse shit, right? So, and because we're looking at probably moving and buying a different house out in the hills, I won't justify putting in a battery right now, but only because it's so expensive still, and the return on investment's 3.5 years. Well, if I'm not going to be there in 3.5 years, it doesn't make any economic sense because it's not like someone who's going to buy my house is going to give me that money back. So, but in the same thing in a business, if you own your own building, looking at solar to take your daytime load is probably a really good idea because it's very cost effective. And you can speak to one of our clients, Sun Energy, and ask for Lee Lake. He's the owner. If you can get through to him, outstanding business. And they did my job. And I used to be, the chief operating officer of a big solar company 10 years ago, 12 years ago. So, for me to say that it's the real deal with these guys, so insurance premiums, you got to shop your insurance premiums. Don't rely on letting them roll over each year. The insurance companies are there to not pay you and to make money from you, right? Look at your supply chain and inventory costs, right? Because of the fluctuations. These are all the areas that you have to watch for. And then you've got your marketing and advertising because, while it's necessary for growth, the returns on marketing and advertising spend can be really uncertain, right? And making budgeting and managing these costs also quite challenging, Simone. So the big one, though, that people forget is tax, okay? When things get tight, people go, oh, the ATO can be my bank. The ATO is not your bank, right? So don't start not paying your bills. And also, if you're making profits, you're going to be paying tax. Make sure you have those cash reserves. And, like we've got inflated bank accounts, but a lot of that is me pre-planning the tax that we've got to pay. Now, if I didn't know that, I go, oh, yeah, I'm going to go buy some more Bromleys or I'm going to go and buy some art or do something, right? We don't condone buying art. But then we've got, so businesses must strategically manage all of these expenses by regularly reviewing their cost structures. They've got to negotiate better terms with suppliers and landlords. They've got to invest in energy-efficient technologies. They've got to optimize their workforce, okay? And they've got to explore alternate marketing strategies to maximize ROI. Now, each of these areas, Simone, requires careful analysis and planning to ensure that the cost controls do not actually undermine the company's operational efficiency too, right? Because that's the ability to compete and grow, okay? To compete and grow.
And this is what we see sometimes, isn't it? That clients are wanting to, or people are thinking like, I need to turn my ads off. I need to stop, all these lead generation tactics because they see that as a high expense and something that they're like, okay, I don't know. It seems to be the panic button. They hit that and they want to turn off the lead generation, which doesn't really make any sense, right? So I think you raised some really interesting points for consideration of being really on purpose with what you're going to look at with your expense and not just looking at the list and thinking, what can I cut? It could be, what can I negotiate, not necessarily turn off.
Yeah. And, so many people do so much dumb shit. And it drives me crazy. When new clients come to us, the first thing we do is you do a road mapping session with them, which is essentially an audit of their business. Most of them can't even answer half the questions. And it's like, oh my God, do I want to work with these people? I say that to you. I'm like, what mistake have we done here? And we vet people pretty hard, right? But, when you then dig deep, they do know the answers, but they just, a lot of the time, that road mapping session, I've said this to a few new clients recently, the biggest takeaway you'll get is from that road mapping session. Because it's 2 to 3 hours with you where you're pulling them apart. And when you start to dig up the shit they do, for me, it's gold because when I then go into the strategy workshop, I'm armed with most of the time, at least the ROI of that whole day like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, people are always
Yeah.
like, we've just given it away now and here. But hopefully none of potential clients are watching yet. But, to me, that's where I get the juice from. And I've often will do a strategy session. At the end of the first day, they're like, you just made us 30 grand. I'm like, yeah. And I did that overnight. Right. So imagine what we can do in a year. So, and again, it's because I want to make sure that I give an ROI to clients so they can continue paying me my my fees that keep going up every time we get a new client. Right? No, our fee structure has been pretty solid.
Why not us as well? Why not? We're just moving with the economy. That's okay.
Well, actually, in fairness, we haven't actually lifted our prices for a while. I mean, a client said they looked at our website and they had a price indication and said, they've gone up a fair bit. And I said, no, we hadn't updated those prices for 2.5 years because we haven't been taking any new clients, right? And now that we've got the Evolve program, a lot of the one-on-one clients have moved over there, or that's a new, it's a much more structured, affordable environment for mum and dad businesses. So people, that's freed me up so I can spend more time with my kids. But unfortunately, I have a general manager who just loves putting way too many new people in front of me. And then I feel sorry for them because I think I can really help them. And then I take on more work.
Well, it's a vicious cycle, isn't it, Kristian Livolsi? You keep filling up my task list and I'm just returning it back to you with new clients. All right, let's get into question number 3 so you can get home, have some dinner and spend some time with your loved ones. So my third question I have for you today is, how do you ensure that you have enough cash reserves or that you've got enough? I've referred to it before as a war chest. How do you know what is sufficient for your business? You just said you have a number that you like to keep in your bank account. How do you know what that number is for you? What should you be working towards?
Oh, look, that one's really simple, right? So you've got to maintain a buffer, and you've always got to maintain a buffer of cash reserves beyond the anticipated need to protect against any unforeseen event or market fluctuations. Now, I have a rule of thumb: minimum 3 months of wages and fixed expenses. Right? And there'll be people listening to this going, there's no way I could do that. Yes, there is. There's absolutely a way that you can do it. Especially if you've saved for a house and you have to get a deposit, you learnt to save. Right? It's the same thing. You got to save 3 months of wages and fixed expenses. We've got companies that, I consult to that turn over, $20 million, $30 million in that range, and they carry even up to 6 months. And before I started, they weren't carrying anything.
Yeah.
So, and now you should see the owners are like, this is the best business ever, because shit can happen. Now, the only reason you also want to carry 3 months is if you've got business interruption insurance, normally it takes 6 to 12 weeks to get that to the insurance company to pay. So again, you want to be able to keep your business going. So yes, Simone, I keep at least 3 months worth of wages and fixed expenses in all the companies. Right. And then on top of that, I keep all the taxation and everything else. So, and then we try and reinvest some of that money in low risk, areas to try and recoup some interest. But some of the things that people need, and what we help them with, what we help our clients with is actually assess liquidity needs. So what we do is we try and understand the business cycle and identify the minimum cash reserves that we need to cover the operational expenses, the emergencies, and any unexpected opportunities. We also do lots of forecasted cash flows, right, which is like one of my favorite jams. And then we also optimize receivables. So we accelerate cash inflows by optimizing our accounts receivables process. So, today I sat down with Bonnie and I said, hey, Bonnie, we've got people that are 60, 90 days. I'm not liking that, right? And she's basically on the phone calling everyone saying, calling it in or he's going to stop. And I do that. I don't care. And that's the media company. Because, again, people need to understand, if I'm blowing out that far and I'm, it's not even possible because they're meant to be paying us in advance. So people are getting lazy. And so you got to watch it, right? And normally she'll pick up the call and then everyone will be like, sorry, We just do it because it's only like $1,000 a month. And it's like, well, you're
Yeah.
making money. I need to be paid because I like to make money.
And that comes back to what you were saying before, isn't it, about businesses actually running out of cash? It's that kind of stuff, because on your books, it looks like happy days if you're not looking at the receivables. You're just looking at that going, sweet, we're making lots of money. This is really great. And then all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, there's no money in the bank.
Yeah. And the biggest misconception is when you have so much money in the bank that you think it's all your money. It rarely is your money. In fact, it's the company's money, not yours. So you've got to actually, reduce all your non-essential spending. You've got to control your payables, so control what you're paying out. I like to pay my bills pretty quick, except your BNI bill, because I keep forgetting. It's on the list. I've got the bank details. I'm going to pay the damn thing. But I just got to probably just get you a credit card. But then what we got to do is you got to monitor regularly. You got to establish a lot of policies around it. You got to plan for your taxes, and you got to review your financing options. Okay, because by actively managing your cash reserves and considering all of the above things that I mentioned, right, you can actually help ensure that your business remains solvent and is prepared for both opportunities and challenges. Because so many people don't have any money in a Mojo account to even take up opportunities. And that's sad. So that's it. That's in a nutshell.
It really comes down to discipline and structure, right? This is what we're talking about fundamentally, is having the discipline and the structure to know where to put your money so you can have all of these pockets, bundles, buckets, whatever you want to call them, so they're ready to go when you want to. Now, I heard a lot of people talking about everyone's freaking out about how much the cost of living is going, and then there's a whole cohort of people that are preparing for some really cool opportunities that are about to come up. So, you want to be able to have that money there to pounce when the opportunity is right there.
I mean, look, I remember Alex when she first started working with us in Evolve, and she said, everyone's telling me, all the other people that I speak to, saying there's a recession. And she was adamant. And I said, there's no recession. I guess I was right. And that was 18 months ago. Okay?
Yeah.
And I say to people, don't believe the bullshit you read in the paper, ever. Most of the shit you read in the newspaper is absolute clickbait. All they're doing it is because if they don't have anyone reading their newspapers, the advertising dollars that pays them, right? Because who would buy a paper for $3, right?
Yeah.
Most of the shit that's in there, you wouldn't even use as toilet paper, right? And I just think journalists, they've killed the industry, right? Because it's about selling newspapers. Journalism used to be an art, right? And it used to be a way to inform people about, things that truly mattered. Now it's, let's go write a shit story on someone, or let's rise someone up and then bring them down, right? Like, because that's what the people want to read. Right. Well, I think people are getting smarter than that. And now that digital media is out there, people have got a little bit more information, but be careful of the misinformation. Right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if there's a recession, Warren Buffett will make more money than anyone else. Him and Charlie Munger, they make all their money when we're in recession. Why? Because they're ready. They've got their cash reserves. I mean, if anyone's listened to the Barefoot Investor, that's the first thing he tells you to do. Have a Mojo account.
Yeah.
And if you stick $5,000 in it immediately. Now, I know there's a lot of families living day to day, but I bet you anything, if we looked at what they were spending shit on, we could probably carve $200-300 a week out of it.
Yeah.
Because and what it is that everyone wants to live in a castle, right? I was reading a stat the other day that Australians live in the biggest homes in the world, like as in per capita. It was on realestate.com, and I was reading the research, and I was trying to find where they got it from. It blew me away, and it's true. We live on 1,000 square meter blocks. I mean, I grew up in Europe. You live in a 200 square meter apartment, with a couple of balconies. Yet here,
your aunties and your grandparents and everyone else in the house with you.
but then, the thing is, we also then fill our house with heaps of shit that we throw out. And I think this is where people have gotten this whole fear of missing out bullshit. I don't give a shit. I mean, I tell the story all the time. I bought my Range Rover because my clients were giving me shit about driving a Toyota Kluger that was 10 years old. And they're like, we know how much we pay you. We know you can afford a better, newer car. And I'm like, I just couldn't be asked having a car. I've had sports cars. I've had M3s. And, I don't need them. And that's the difference. And then when I bought it, I actually doubled my income. My clients were right. People give a shit, And now my wife's approved the Ferrari, but I can't fit in one, right? So I'm now on a diet so I can fit into a Ferrari, right? I'm not on a diet because I want to live longer. Look at my priorities, Simone. They're all over the shop. No. The reality of it is
Ferrari very soon if you keep staying on calls and doing client work all night and just don't eat. That will happen quickly.
No, the problem is if I don't eat, I still put on weight. I'm one of those people, I look at a glass of water and I put on calories, right? I've had 4 liters of water today. And that had nothing to do with Melbourne Cup. But look, managing cash is not as hard as people think it is. But it is about discipline. You said it earlier. And, you've got to be fanatically disciplined. Like my biggest problems were because I lacked the discipline when I was a younger entrepreneur. Now I've got very robust systems, but also I'm so busy I can't compromise. Like, I don't think I've had a lunch during the week. Melbourne Cup's been the first time. And it was amazing. We had a great day, at the Victoria Park Social. In the market. It was really good fun. And, but I just don't have time for that shit. And I used to be a guy that, they used to call me Sir Lunch a lot. I used to be out at lunch every single day. Right. And I did business at lunch, but now it's like, I don't even have time to do that. In our office building in South Australia at the Chamber of Commerce, we've got, Josh Baker's restaurant downstairs, Whistle and Flute, which is awesome. And I barely get down there to get a coffee. Like it's just, but the moment you stop spending money on a coffee every day, you stop doing this, people are like, you make coffee at home. I'm a wog. I grew up on a cafe, the macchinetta on the stove, right? Now you got all these people saying, I want an espresso and I want it from a machine that has triple dripping facilities. All right, go pay $5 for a coffee that should cost you 55 cents.
Yeah.
So it's and I could go on and on about this all day long. And we are culprits in our house. Lucy and I have been talking about it for ages. Mate, Uber Eats makes a fortune from our house. If it's not gelati being delivered or, and Lucy's an excellent cook. We cook. But then it's like, it's too hard. It's late. She's working late. I'm working late. Kids want a pizza. All right, so you order a pizza. And then it's like, let's. And I said, Lucy, we're spending like $300 a week on takeaway. Like, that's ridiculous. And, no matter how many times we say we've got to stop, we don't stop, right?
You need to move to a regional area like me where we don't get Uber Eats where I live. So that cuts out that problem straight away.
You are so lucky. By the way, one of our clients, Marianne Mav, she's online. She just sent me a text message. No, she just sent me a text message. What did she write? I love getting messages from her. Ha! That's the new electric Ferrari. So she goes, funny you mentioned Ferrari. I was parked next to one today. That's my next car. You buy the Ferrari and I'll look after it till you fit into it. I love you, Marianne. You are the best. But yeah, that's the new. I've got a friend of mine who's got one of those in America. He ordered it. He just got it delivered. They're the new electric. Yes. That's a beautiful car. That's outside of my wife's allowance. Yeah, that's about 750,000. So, if you can get one, I'm just happy with a convertible California. So I'll be, a classic. But there we go, 600,000. She's talking, she's listening, and then texting me. It's brilliant.
Well, that's because the comments don't work here on Ecamm. Look, everyone knows we're not really a fan of this Ecamm product. It doesn't really do much for us. But we can't see any comments, so I'm glad that she's interacting with us via text message, which is great. All right, Kristian Livolsi, let's wrap this up. Cash flow, so prominent for what business owners need right now. Pay attention to what is coming in and out of your bank account, and you can seriously solve so many problems just from awareness.
Awesome. Well, Simone, thank you. And thank you. We got there 30 minutes for you. 30 minutes when he goes back and watches the replay.
Thank you very much for being here. This is the Hot Seat with Kristian Livolsi. We'll be back next Wednesday with another hot topic for you. Bye.
Thanks, Simone.
Working with Kristian is a game changer. Hi, I'm Adrian Lee from GrowthLink Coaching and Consulting. I started working with Kristian in August 2020 as his LinkedIn growth consultant. We worked together on his LinkedIn brand for about 12 months before becoming business partners in Growth Outsourced late 2021. Kristian is a hidden genius. He helped me break through a significant financial target by restructuring my growth consulting online business offer. I don't know of any one person who can give you so much focus, clarity, and structure to live your purpose and get shit done. He holds you accountable to your words and gives you the tough love when you need it. I love his no BS approach to business and life. Everyone needs a Kristian Livolsi in their life. Do whatever you have to work with Kristian. This is just the beginning for us to continue growing together. Thanks again, Kristian.
Are you ready to start taking action on your business? Would you like to spend more time with your family? Then call 1300-643-229 and start building momentum right now. I know you're busy. In fact, you are so busy that you don't have time to work on your business or yourself. Often tossing and turning at night, worrying about the how-tos and the cash flow. How on earth can you possibly get off the hamster wheel so that you can take a helicopter view to see where you'll be in 90 days, 1 year, or 3 years from now? In this program, I will take you from sleepless nights to blissful sleep. You'll have more time with your family and you will have the clarity and direction so you can grow and flourish. Call 1300-643-229 now and start building momentum.